Hey everybody, Nick from VMX here, and it's time for another look at those Nintendo consoles, and today we're going to take a look at the GameCube. Now, as you guys know, I'm a huge GameCube enthusiast. I have a huge collection of GameCube games. You can see one stack there, and there's another stack there, and there's another stack behind it there, and there's these games that I just got today, so I'm a big GameCube enthusiast. I collect games for it. I love the system. I'm not about to say it's the best system that Nintendo has put out. I think the Super NES is the best system ever. And I think that the Wii, in a lot of ways, is better than the GameCube, and it plays GameCube games, so hell. But, like I said, it's a personal favorite for me. I'm huge into the GameCube. A couple of you guys, you probably might have been expecting me to look at the Game Boy Advance. I'm going to do that next. I'll do that in 2 weeks. You know, I just did Game Boy Color, and I didn't want to do 2 Game Boys in a row. So today we're going to take a look at the GameCube. I got the system. I got the one add-on. For once, I actually have an add-on. And I got some games to look at. So, let's take a look at the system. Now, this is the GameCube. Now, this is the first system that Nintendo offered with a choice of colors. Now, usually when you see promotional images of the GameCube from Nintendo, you're looking at the purple one. This is a black one. There's also a lot of images with the silver one because it was kind of fashionable. There were a lot of celebrities carrying it around in pictures when the GameCube first came out. I chose the black one. I don't really know why, but they had a couple of different colors. This is back at EB Games, the one that's now GameStop, and I just grabbed the black one. I didn't really care what color I was getting. I just wanted the GameCube very badly, and I got it. Okay, so let's take a look at the actual system. Now, here's the top of the system, and you can see it says Nintendo GameCube right here, and there's the Nintendo logo right up there. Now, this is the power button, and it just gives you that nice little click, so that you know you got it. It's satisfying to hit that. Over here we have the eject button. It's a top-loading system. This is their first optical disc media. And this is the reset button, which just is like a little button that you can press, and then boom, there you go. There's the front of the system. Oh, look at that. Okay. Now, one thing that you'll notice right away is that it has 4 controller ports. So right off the bat, it's following on the footsteps of the Nintendo 64 as having 4 controller inputs, and you can see they're labeled with little dots, 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 dots, 4 dots. So in case, you're dyslexic or something, you know that that's number 1, that's number 2, that's number 3, and that's number 4. Here are the inserts for the memory cards, and as far as I know, I think the Nintendo GameCube is the only system I've seen where it has these little doors, kind of like cartridge slots. So there you have it there. There's also this little sticker here that says graphics by ATI, so there's an ATI video card in there. Let's take a look at this side. Now, there's nothing here, but as you can see, the vent, but you can also see there's a fan there, which is kind of interesting. So it puts the vents at the sides, which is kind of interesting. Here's the other side, and you can see the vent, but you don't see a fan there. Let's take a look at the back. Now, the biggest feature of the back is the handle. The GameCube is a tiny little machine, and it gives you this neat little handle to carry it. A lot of people, when they first saw it, they thought the design was silly, they thought the handle was pointless, but I think it's kind of grown on everybody. Okay, now, well, there's where the power switch goes, and it kind of uses a similar design to where, like the PlayStation and Dreamcast used. There's your multi-analog AV outlet, and there's your digital AV outlet. And there's yet another vent right there. Taking a look at the bottom of the system, we can see a lot of interesting things. I'm going to actually turn around. Well, there's that sticker there with the Nintendo GameCube. Now notice that I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but the serial number is DOL001, as in Dolphin. The system was originally going to be called the Dolphin, and that was its code word. They later changed it to StarCube, and then they changed it to GameCube. Now here's one of the extenders where you can put the add-on, and I'll actually show you that in a little bit, how to take it off. And there's other add-ons. This one here, this is serial port 1, and right here is serial port 2. And I think the modem hooks up to one of them. I don't know what the other one's for, but there are 2 of them there. And once you take the covers off, it can be a little bit of a bitch to get them back on. But there you have it. There originally was a cover there, but I kind of just took it off because that's where I connect my Game Boy player. Now let's take a look at the Game Boy player. This is the Game Boy player, and it's kind of similar to the Super Game Boy for the Super NES in that it's an add-on that lets you put, that lets you play Game Boy games. This one particularly is for Game Boy Advance games. You can actually screw it in. I don't, have a screwdriver on me right now, but I'll tighten it a little bit so that it stays on there permanently. Now this is an interesting add-on because out of all the add-ons that I've seen, they always do one thing. They kind of like fuck up the design of the system. But look, it just looks a little taller. It's pretty cool. Now, let's take a look at the functionality of the Game Boy player since I got it here. Basically, here's a Game Boy Advance cartridge. That's my favorite game ever, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. And you actually put them in label side down. You just push it in, and you can't even tell there's a game in there unless you're looking very closely. It's kind of interesting. I'd like to sit it there, but that handle gets in the way. So let's just kind of do like that. And then on the side, there's this little switch that is an eject switch, and it just pops it right out. One great thing about this is that unlike the Nintendo DS, you can put Game Boy Color games in there, and you could put Game Boy games in there. It's got a little EXT, an extension, and you can hook up other Game Boy Advance systems or other GameCubes. You can have several GameCubes with several TVs and play Game Boy Advance games or whatever. It's pretty nutty. I mean, the design of it, other than that, is pretty minimalist. Here's the bottom of it, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Player, and notice it says Doll 017, so Dolphin 017. It's just kind of interesting to look at. So, that is my GameCube. Now, let's take a look at the games themselves. Well, I got one thing in here right now, and that's actually, this is the Game Boy Player disc, which is kind of like an emulator that tells the system to run the Game Boy player. As you can see, they're very similar to DVDs. These are actually called Nintendo optical discs. You can see my reflection there. And you can also see the camera. They're very small. They only hold 1.5 gigabytes, which is more than enough, as many amazing games came out for the system in terms of graphics. But the system did support more than one disc. Here's a typical game. This is Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2. As you can see, they come in DVD cases. There's the disc. Except that these cases can hold DVDs because they're specifically meant to hold Nintendo optical discs. Interesting, that one over there, the Nintendo Wii, uses the same Nintendo optical discs. They're just bigger. And that's one of the big reasons why it's so easy to play GameCube games on the Wii. Now, here's Resident Evil 0. This is an example of a game that has a Disc 1, Disc 2, and you can see they just put them right on top of each other. So that's pretty cool. They have specialty cases, but they're not like super specialty cases. They're probably pretty easy to come along.